Welcome, focused learners, to another explainer. If you've ever felt like the world is constantly demanding you to be louder, faster, and just more outgoing, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to completely flip the script on what society mistakenly calls a weakness. We're diving into the fascinating science and history of introversion, and we're going to learn exactly how to transform your quiet nature into an absolute biological superpower. We're building what we call the Ghost Mode Roadmap. Let's get right into it. Let's start with a quick reality check. Have you ever been to a party or a networking event, and even though nothing inherently bad happened, you just felt completely and utterly drained by the time you left? Maybe you've even started skipping invitations altogether. Or maybe you found yourself sitting on one side of a room while your friends are chatting away on the other, simply because you don't have the energy to engage? Or perhaps you've struggled with those incredibly awkward silences in conversations where you just didn't know what to say. Look, if you're nodding your head right now, I want to validate that everyday experience. You are not alone, and more importantly, there is absolutely nothing broken about you.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the introvert's daily struggle. Then we'll dive into the science of quiet brains, followed by the power of quiet leadership. And finally, we'll give you your daily ghost mode roadmap, where we turn all of this knowledge into highly actionable daily habits.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the introvert's daily struggle, and the reality of living as an introvert.
Now, there's a really critical distinction we need to make right out of the gate. People often confuse these two terms, shyness and introversion, but they are not the same thing at all. Shyness is basically rooted in a fear of judgment. It's an anxiety about what other people are thinking of you. But introversion? That's an entirely different ballgame. Introversion simply means that highly stimulating environments, loud crowds, nonstop chatter, bright spotlights, they actively drain your biological energy. You don't necessarily fear the people, you're just biologically exhausted by all that overstimulation.
And to put that into perspective, here's a staggering number to back that up. Up to 50% of the population are introverts. That means every second or third person you walk past on the street is wired exactly like this. Yet from the time we're in school, all the way through our corporate careers, our culture incorrectly rewards only loud, extroverted behavior. The person who speaks the most gets the gold star, right? And that leaves up to half the population feeling like they need to fix themselves. But trust me, you do not need fixing.
Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about the science of quiet brains and those biological superpowers I mentioned earlier.
Okay, so it really all comes down to how your brain processes a feel-good chemical called dopamine. Extroverts actually require a massive amount of dopamine just to feel energized. They need the chaos, the high risks, the loud environments to stimulate their brains. But introverts? Introverts are highly sensitive to dopamine. If an introvert is put in that exact same chaotic environment, they don't feel energized, they feel completely overwhelmed. Because of this high sensitivity, introverts actually thrive and feel deeply rewarded by peace, quiet, and calmness.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this unique brain chemistry actually gives you biological superpowers. For one, introverts have a highly active frontal lobe. Think of this as the brain's control center for planning, problem-solving, and really deep thinking. When an introvert is left alone in silence, they aren't just doing nothing. No way. Their brain becomes a literal idea-generating machine. You also have a very sensitive cortisol baseline, meaning you appreciate and are genuinely grateful for even the smallest positive stimuli. The only real trap here is that an overactive frontal lobe can sometimes lead to overthinking. But once you learn to rein that in, this capacity for deep thought becomes your absolute greatest asset.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the power of quiet leadership and the introvert advantage.
When I first saw this research out of Harvard and Wharton, I was honestly stunned. They looked at teams led by extroverts versus teams led by introverts. And the result? Get this. Teams led by introverts actually showed 40% more profit. 40%! Why? Because quiet leaders actually listen. When team members bring new ideas to the table, an introverted leader processes them, appreciates them, and practically applies them, rather than trying to compete with them.
And the benefits don't even stop at profit. Productivity also jumps by a massive 28% under quiet leadership. Extrovert leaders, who are used to always being the center of attention, can sometimes unconsciously shut down competing ideas just to maintain their dominance. But the active listening of introverts, that empowers employees. When your boss truly listens to you, you feel motivated, you feel valued, and you are ready to work way harder.
And hey, history is absolutely packed with proof of this quiet dominance. It's all about how these incredible figures harnessed their nature. Back in the 1860s, Abraham Lincoln, a famously reserved man, spent countless hours deep in thought to calmly navigate America through the Civil War. In the 1940s, Mahatma Gandhi led an entire nation to freedom, not by shouting, but by wielding the immense power of peaceful silence and moral authority. Jump to the 1970s, and Bill Gates used his incredible capacity for isolated, focused thinking to build Microsoft from the ground up. And in the 1990s, J.K. Rowling crafted the massive, complex universe of Harry Potter entirely in solitude. Silence and deep thought have continually shaped our world across every era.
All right, let's get into Section 4. This is what you've been waiting for, your daily ghost mode roadmap and the actionable habits you can start today.
Here is your complete 6-step ghost mode roadmap. This framework is what's going to allow you to dominate in your career and your personal life, all while staying entirely true to your quiet nature. Let's break down each of these daily habits right now so you can start using them.
Step 1 is absolutely crucial, establishing dedicated me time for deep thinking. Tech pioneers like Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs famously utilized completely digital-free think weeks to isolate themselves with nothing but their thoughts. You need to replicate this on a daily micro-scale. Carve out 15 minutes to an hour every single day where you put the phone away, sit in silence, and just let your frontal lobe do what it does best. Process, plan, and generate incredible ideas without any of that external digital noise.
Steps 2 and 3 are all about connection and capture. Look, you don't need to shout across a crowded room to network. Instead, focus your energy on one-on-one networking. Use your biological superpower of active listening to build deep, intimate trust with individuals. When you actually listen to someone, they become incredibly loyal to you. And step 3, always write your ideas down. Because your brain is constantly churning out brilliant solutions, you need a daily habit of documenting them so they become permanent, actionable plans rather than just fleeting thoughts you forget by lunchtime. Now, steps 4 and 5 are where the magic really happens. Step 4 is what we call strategic pretending. You don't have to change who you are, but you can learn to temporarily step into a confident, extroverted persona for, say, a 20-minute meeting or a big presentation. Treat it like you're acting in a movie scene. Give them an Oscar-worthy extrovert performance for 20 minutes, and the second it's over, you can retreat right back to your quiet space to recharge. Step 5 is using digital leverage. Honestly, the internet is the ultimate introvert tool. It allows you to broadcast your ideas and express yourself globally from the quiet comfort of your own room, facing a camera or a keyboard instead of an intimidating, noisy crowd. Finally, Step 6 wraps up the roadmap: fitness and grooming. Now, this might seem a little out of place at first, but it is actually vital. Since you naturally aren't going to be the loudest person demanding attention in the room, you need to let your physical presence do the talking for you. By maintaining peak fitness, dressing well, and presenting yourself immaculately, you create this sort of silent magnetism. People will naturally be drawn to approach you, inviting incredible opportunities into your life without you ever having to shout a single word for them. I want to conclude our narrative today with this truly profound piece of traditional wisdom. The tree with the most fruit always bows down. Your quiet nature, your tendency to listen rather than speak, your softness, these are not weaknesses. They never were. They are a profound strength rooted in natural humility and immense inner value. You just don't need to be loud to make a massive impact. You now have the actual daily habits and tools to turn your introversion into your absolute greatest advantage. So the only question left for you is, what incredible things will you build when you finally step into the quiet and activate your ghost mode? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I can't wait to see what you do with this, and I'll catch you in the next one.